Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. You are watching TV Asia. I'm your host, Shoaib Zaidi, and we are going to show top story around the world. As you know, that we are discussing this is 22nd of March. And I would like to thank my panelists, Malik and Prof. Every time bringing some stories, and we would like to know their opinion because we find in Queensland these two assets has a very good information from the most of the area, and ultimately TV Asia trying to bring an informative show. And let's start from Dr. Banan Malik. 23rd March is a Pakistan Day, and Mr. Scott Morrison he has sent a message to all Pakistani community for with the best wishes. This one and last, I think in January, he sent a similar message to India. So what exactly our president, Mr. Scott Morrison, is trying to message to both countries?
Mr. Scott Morrison is a lovely leader who has worked to work with United Nations. We have to read of the message. He writes decades of our friendship
Right.
has enriched our ties and trade, education, and business. So those are the fine lines one has to keep in the message. So that shows how much he has country. And he goes on to say, people here,
Yeah.
both nations.
Yeah.
That's a lovely message. It endears us to the country. And he's sending this ordinary Australians here. We love Pakistan, love Pakistanis.
Yeah, that's really nice. And Professor Pitman, you've been part of the government policy. You work in government offices. Do you think is it a part of their responsibility send a message to these countries or look after their people? What exactly, as Dr. Bernard mentioned, our people. So he's looking Australian, Pakistani, Australian, and from there he's sending a message.
I think that Australia has a lot to do with Pakistan and India relates to World War II. A lot of the Australian troops were based in India and back from England to fight the Japanese. And Pakistan and India, which I think would have been one nation at
Yes.
the time,
Yes.
very, very good Australian soldiers. And the Australians never forget the countries that are good to their soldiers. Because their soldiers come home and have high regard. All the ex-military have high regard for India and Pakistan and treat them as though they were like us because of the way we were in World War II, particularly with the British government was in India for a while. So a lot of time in India and particularly our return soldiers.
So it means that they are sending both, Mr. Malik, if I understand correctly, this message is cover both areas. One is that he is sending the message to local, our Australians, they were from Pakistan, and ultimately similarly, and also sending to the country, correct?
Yes.
So, okay. Dr. Banar Malik, as you know that we are discussing about the Pakistan. So, just for my viewers, as if you are aware that Pakistan, when we discuss Pakistan, we have to discuss about Imran Khan, and if we discuss Imran Khan, we have to discuss his COVID also because it's become a big story that after taking a vaccine of COVID, just immediately after 1 or 2 days, he was suspected, not suspected, even though he's positive of COVID. How you looking a leader from that level has a COVID? And then second thing which I like to know that do you understand that is there any possibility that the COVID has any relation with vaccine?
Um, Before that, if I may quickly say, when Australian people and Australian Prime Minister sends good wishes to Pakistan and India, I remember Senator Eric Abetz.
Yeah.
He was a federal minister with the Tony Abbott's government. He went to India.
Right,
And then after we arrived in India, he wanted to go to Bangalore.
right,
So at that time, you can call it Bangalore.
right.
And we asked why. And he said, oh, my grandfather is buried there.
Ah,
So these Australian soldiers and Australian people have very close ties.
right.
Now between you and me, it's India and Pakistan.
Yeah.
But for Australia,
Yeah.
it is the same people.
Right, right,
So that is why love for,
Right, right.
for our people is very strong.
right.
And I'm sure you and me are testimony to the great love that Australians have for
Thank you.
everybody. They're very loving people.
Thank you.
It's a great country to be in. Now coming back to Mr. Imran Khan, I have a great respect.
Yeah, I know. That's I know that you always.
admire him. I think most of the leaders who have any guts have taken this vaccine before the people have started, just to instill confidence in people that this works.
Ah,
Now, look, the vaccine has been hurried into.
right.
Otherwise, generally, if you remember last year when they were talking about COVID, they were saying it will be 2 years or more before you can get a vaccine.
Right,
Now it's less than a year you have gotten vaccine.
right.
Anytime there is a vaccine developed, it goes through a lot of stages of development.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And then testing generally takes 6-7 months to test it on everyone.
Yes.
Now, though it's been hurriedly approved by all the nations, I think it's still going through testing stage.
Testing stage.
So as long as it doesn't prove deadly on a lot of people, what everybody is trying to do is make sure that more people are safe. Prime Minister Imran Khan, is facing challenges with third wave.
Yeah.
He wants to make sure the people are safe, so he took the
Bold step.
dose, and then unfortunately, it's not within his control. The result.
So it's become a news for the media. Professor Pitman, Imran Khan, as he's already says, he's a brave leader and he's leading from the front. However, there are lots of issues which is still not yet handled. Everybody knows that it's not easy. But coming back to the COVID, number one, he is one of the few leaders of the, from the country like England, who has a COVID, and few other countries. Similarly, Imran Khan, as he says that he shows that he is a strong leader and he has no doubt on vaccine. That's one. And how you looking his role for this one, and why do you think that why it's possible that he has the COVID because of the vaccine?
Look, internationally, every leader has been seen on TV and public to have the vaccination, to show the public that there's really no fear about the vaccination. And they want to instill confidence in people. People will have a belief that if the leader takes the vaccination, then it'll be safe for the rest of the community.
Yes.
Certainly there's a reaction. Every time I get my flu needle, for the first 24 hours, I get some of the very mild symptoms
Right.
of it, which they tell you that will be the case anyway. But I think what he's done is he's built confidence in his people. He's reassured them. He's made sure that they have access to the vaccinations, and he wants his people to be safe. And sometimes we do things that affect us so that others can be safe. And I think he's a true leader. That's what he's done.
What is that? Okay, that's okay. Let's leave Imran Khan apart, and I
So
believe.
he gets 10 out of 10, no matter how you're trying to instigate us.
Yeah, he got 10 out of 10, and I know that you are very much a supporter of Imran Khan as a good leader, as a well-educated Prime Minister of Pakistan. And now we already on the COVID. Professor Pitman, how are you looking the COVID vaccine in Australia? Do you think you are satisfied with the progress? That, they are every time they are trying to convince the people. Still, there are two mindset. Half of the people look like they are ready for the vaccine, and half not.
I think the media response in Europe has played a part here in Australia.
Yes.
A lot of our people are migrants.
Yeah,
Many of them come from out of Europe.
yeah,
I think Britain is one of the second or third major immigrant groups to Australia. So Europe also has many. So what is said in Europe is quite often reflected in our immigrants here. So I think that was problematic. The second thing that I think is difficult is although there were contracts and agreements signed between nations and the companies that were producing the vaccination, I think it's like going into a lolly shop. Huh? And I think people who've got the money want more of the lollies, and those who don't or further away will struggle to get the lollies they want in a lolly shop. I think Australia has sort of been said, well, look, you don't have the problems we have in Europe and England. Perhaps you could wait a little longer for the vaccinations. The problem is the Prime Minister's come out and said, well, we're going to have you all vaccinated by a certain date. So there's the cajoling between Europe and the vaccination production and the Australian Prime Minister's endeavour to say we're going to move forward in this space. So he's caught between a rock and a hard place.
Right.
On the issue at the moment.
Dr. Banarmali, you also supported that European media has brought some kind of different message where conspiracies develop and the height was taken and then people were divided. And why do you think that it is from them? It's not from the people living here, or it's not the vaccine itself, because the vaccine does not get the really good time for the testing?
I think there is a lot of politics on COVID. If you take it to last year, exactly this time,
right,
COVID was a political issue. It came from China. President Trump said this and all, and it's a fall off of COVID that vaccine also has become a political issue. I'm not sure if you followed the news in Europe. The European Commissioner has come out and said, oh, we don't want it to going anywhere, because a couple of people had reaction.
Yeah.
Right. And now they don't want it to be sent to Australia. And Prime Minister is saying, no, send it. So there is not a progress of injecting it. It is the procurement that is a problem now. And that is why Australian government has hurriedly approved that drug to be produced here. So they are going to do it now.
So they are going to do it. Correct.
So it will be produced and manufactured in Melbourne.
But at this stage, we are using from the Pfizer one.
It will be same.
It will be same.
AstraZeneca one.
Yeah.
And then it will be produced here. But you also have to appreciate Prime Minister's willingness to ensure. See, Trump lost his election because Trump didn't believe in it, and he was not interested as to how many people get vaccinated. But he had procured it, and that is why President Biden has been able to do it. It's not that President Biden had Alibaba
stick of Alibaba.
Or shoe. You got it. No, it had been all done by Trump administration. All he's trying to do is ensure it gets to everyone, and he's getting good marks for that. Same way, Prime Minister Scott Morrison, all he's trying to do is make sure everybody who wants it gets it.
Right.
Now, in that process, there are more reactions to flu vaccine than there are to this. All they're trying to do is ensure out of their goodwill that everybody is safe.
Right. Professor Pitman, if the vaccine was going to be manufactured in Melbourne, correct?
Yes.
Do you think it's going to be, it can create some kind of jobs also in the manufacturing industry, because we're always looking the people to find out, especially in COVID situation?
It will create some jobs.
Some jobs.
Australia is actually one of the recognised pharmaceutical industries in the world, actually.
Right.
So Australia is quite competent in producing the vaccines. I think the issue, another issue which isn't mentioned very often, is Europe had significant problems back in the 1960s and 70s with some of the pharmaceutical products they were manufacturing, which caused major health problems to people. And as a result of it, some of the big pharmaceutical companies paid out hundreds of millions and billions of dollars for not having their vaccinations properly refined and tested and trialled. So I think worldwide, the pharmaceutical companies may have a measure of reassurance from the governments, but of course they're still liable. So they want to make sure that their vaccinations are as good as possible, because if there are any major side effects, there will be a cost. And this time it may not be just the pharmaceutical companies, it may be the government, because they're the ones who will.
They are the one, and you believe. But Dr. Mehran, you already appreciate Mr. Scott Morrison's move for appreciating, looking after the people, looking after the COVID vaccine also. If you remember that Mr. Scott Morrison has a meeting with Mr. Biden, Mr. Modi, and Japan head of state. So what exactly do you think? Because there is a news also that let's mention share something about this, that why these four countries talk is important for this region.
You know, my ties to India.
Yeah.
I look Indian. I was born there and brought up there. I have a lot of differences of opinion with the way Prime Minister Modi has his policies.
Right.
But I have to give him 100 out of 100 for his foreign policies. He has done so well with foreign policy. He's great personal friends with Scott Morrison, with Biden now. Before that, it was Trump. Trump and him were like buddies.
Yeah.
And you have new prime minister in Japan. I think he has already cultivated. India is being seen as a very strong contender or a player on international stage now.
Right.
I think Prime Minister Modi has done very well. And out of that, his leadership in COVID, especially in vaccines, has been appreciated very well by world leaders. He has offered free COVID medicine vaccines to Pakistan too.
Yes.
So he is extending a helping hand to a lot of other countries where they have not been so lucky or quick enough. And I think that is why they brought him in. They roped him in to this squad that they are calling the four countries that are coming together.
Yeah.
Before that, I'm sure you read about it when Australia was going to have a fight with their Facebook.
Yes.
Right?
Google and Facebook.
Yes.
Yes.
Prime Minister Scott Morrison immediately called Prime Minister Modi and said, "Can I get your backing?" And he said, "No problem. Here we go." And then slowly Google backed off and Facebook backed off. But that shows political friendships formed over time and nurtured with a lot of love and care can pay off for all the benefits. It's not only to Australia's benefit, also to India's benefit, and so it is for US benefit, and so it is for Japan's benefit.
Professor Pitman, it's a meeting of these four strong countries, especially US, Japan, India, and Australia. Do you think, because there was a conspiracy that after COVID, the world is going to be changed and strong allies, strong countries is going to lead the country. Do you think that these kind of this meeting at the level of this country may lead to a new world order?
I think it'll provide a measure of stability. In the Australian farms, we talk about quad bikes.
Quad bikes, yeah.
And they talk about this group as the quad.
Right.
The quad bikes have 4 wheels on them and are very stable bikes.
Right.
On the farms. And when you're dealing with America, Japan, Australia, and India, you're dealing with 4 very stable, very firm in their democracy, very much supportive of free enterprise. So they've got all of the elements that will maintain freedoms for our broader communities. But most of all, they bring stability. And stability means security and knowing where the future lies, as against others who don't have that capacity to build confidence in our people.
Right, Dr. Bernard Malik, let's have a difficult one. For strong country, no China.
Yes.
And because something is coming up, but before that, before going to China, do you think US not a good allies to China? Australia not a good allies to China? India not a good allies to China? Japan again. So do you think it might possible is there going to be a platform to handle the China?
Look, I think under President Trump, a default group got formed
Right.
that was going to put China in its place. I don't say in opposition, but putting China in its place. China is a role player. You saw how they control their neighbors, how they're very aggressive. They're going, lending people this road belt initiative that they went everywhere, including Pakistan, Sri Lanka. They're buying your ports. They're buying their old. Why do they buy ports? If you know history of India, at that time you were Indian and your great grandparents were Indians. How Brits came to India through East India Company through the port.
Through the port.
And then they took over. So you and me, we should be very well aware of this trade tactics by colonizers. China is becoming this is new power now. They are trying to colonize all these things. If you see, they have gone to Africa. Interestingly, I think in 2010 or 11, there's a country called Guinea-Bissau in West Africa. The president of Guinea-Bissau was a good friend. I was there when he was being inaugurated. And he was being inaugurated as the first democratic president. Before that, it was a military rule. It's known for its diamonds, very rich, big diamond mines there. When we got there, because I knew the president, I got to be in the inner circle. All these rich Chinese people, or I don't know if they were government agents, flew in with their own planes, with blank contracts and money, dollars, full of bags full of dollars. And what they said was when our president, Alpha Conda was his name, President Conda, what can we do for you? Oh, we need hospitals. No problem. What else do you need? We need sports grounds. No problem. All right, given. But can you sign off that mine to us? Can you sign off that mine to us? We need rights to this, rights to that. And now he's a new president who has promised probably a billion things to his people. He wants to deliver. Then what is going to happen? There is a cost to pay. This is how China goes around. This is the first-hand information that I saw. This is how China has gone to a lot of African countries. It will go to countries where they can make money. It's like just like Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia will tell you we want to preach and increase Islamic, population. They will send you $1 trillion to start a mosque in Rome and everywhere else. But when all these people were walking from there to Europe, millions of this, disadvantaged Muslim youths were walking, and during COVID, South Africa is Saudis are nowhere to be seen. You have to see that. They are there just to instigate, fundamentalism in people. And so they can make money. They can be seen as leader. This is what happens to a lot of these countries. They don't have people's good at heart. They just have their own agenda. China has a strong agenda. So slowly, smaller nations cannot speak against China. So they are possibly happy, and if tomorrow they take a hands-up vote, probably 90% of the countries will go and back America and India and all that against China.
Professor Pitman, Dr. Bernard mentioned a very decent story. East India Company came in the same pattern. We have a lesson learned also. It's not like East India Company forget by Indians and Pakistanis. And China, again, is rightly mentioned that his concept is in Sri Lanka, ports in Pakistan also go other ports you would like to, and then there are a few streets. So do you think that the expansion of this China is leading towards the greater China?
I see in Australia that the Australian government now is talking about taking back the port in Darwin,
Yeah,
which was leased out by the local government up there
to China.
to China. Yes.
Right. So they are they are expert to get the ports only. Yeah.
Yeah. I think the difficulty is that China has become very wealthy, has certainly a lot of affluence. Their political ideology probably does not match majority of the countries around the world. And history will always show that countries that have that sort of ideology tend to monopolise other countries. But at the end of the day, as history shows, many of those countries struggle in the long term. They may have a win today, but in the long term they don't. And certainly you can go back to Germany, you can go back to Italy, you can go back to the USSR. All of them had wanted power and position, but where are they today? So the free countries tend to succeed at the end of the day.
So, but I disagree on that one.
Yeah.
The policies that time are different. Chinese policies are different. What they do is they come, let's say, take an example here. They come here,
Yeah.
they will plant their own politicians. I'm not sure if you remember during this election last time, the guy who was running from Stratton seat, he was on LNP seat.
Yeah.
He put a note out, if you want a strong China, vote for me.
Vote for me.
So
In Australia.
yes. So why you should be saying if you want strong Stratton,
Yeah.
vote for me.
Vote for me.
He said if you want strong China, vote for me. So all these Chinese went and voted for me. It was good. I was happy, though he was from Liberal Party, he didn't win. You don't want people who live on shore and are loyal to some other country.
Yeah, I think that must be part of the citizenship oath also, no, Malik sir?
They will take oath.
They will
And
take
oath, they're not checking your blood group. They're seeing what you see, what you say, and that's it. So I think what China is doing, if you see China, what do they? So they will plant, they will buy our politicians, they go and buy politicians, and they will start trade there. So there is more coming inward than going less outward. So that's why China is becoming strong. So it's China's policies are not like Germany or like Britain and all that. China is only one way. How can it benefit me? I used to get a lot of stuff, and a lot of stuff that you see in the college has been bought from China.
Right.
Okay, so I developed some good friends there, and you talk to them, and they talk to you in confidence and say, only state is important. You are alive as long as you're useful to the state. How many liberal democracies will work on that premises? Individual is more important in liberal democracies.
Yeah.
State has no value.
Yeah.
So it's altogether different principle. As long as it benefits China, we are friends. If it doesn't benefit us, sorry, you don't exist. And that is what, if you see the media news that happened during COVID, whoever got affected, they locked the door outside. Family died. And then they went and demolished the whole thing.
Right. Dr. Malik, let me bring a hot topic also. You're right about the China. If you heard that very well renowned media, they mentioned already on yesterday or day before yesterday that it is possible that Australia may play a silent player roles between the US and China war. Do you think that there is a possibility a war could be war? Because they say because China is not responding. We already discussed in law show, and this is not my words. This is from the renowned one of the most renowned media center, and they say there is a possibility that Australia can be a allies or a ground or a platform battle between China and US.
It's possible. Okay, sometimes these stories just get planted because they want you and me to be talking on TV and radio.
Yeah,
it's possible that rather it's not possible. It's happening. Australia has come out and allied with the US very strongly.
Yeah.
Will they play a role between patching them up? I am not sure, because the the undiplomatic and unparliamentary language that China used for Australia, I hope they don't work and patch it up. Unless a strong nation like Australia is able to send a strong message to China, and you can see over time they've been sending, they canceled that road belt initiative, and they had to go and form legislate a new law, because under the existing law then federal government did not have the power to override any of these foreign treaties. But then they formed that law. Prime Minister Scott Morrison said we'll take it off, and they went and did legislation of the law, and they canceled that. So, and then you can see they've been very strong in their assertion that unless you behave, you turn out to be a better kid, we are not dealing with you. I hope they stay strong on that one. It is matter of ordinary Australians' self prestige. How, you know, the language they use was, oh, Australia is like gum under our shoes.
Yeah.
How can you do that? No, this is very, very insulting to a sovereign, law-abiding, good nation like Australia, a very honorable nation. You don't say that even to small, tiny countries.
Yeah, absolutely.
That is dependent on it. You know, there has to be decorum and protocol when you address these things. So China is known to be a role player, a bully on international stage. Somewhere people need to correct that.
But Professor Pitman, some way people need to be corrected.
I think he's not going to like me because he's going to say, I'm going to say, no, sorry.
I know. Now, you already heard about the tone of China, the words of China. US is very far from Australia. So China, Australia are very close. If something happens, that someone has to fix it, and ultimately US is going to use some other lands or any other platforms. Do you think the way China is already responding, Australia is a land ready to shake the hand with US and move to fix the China?
If you listen to Kevin Rudd, who was on TV about 3 or 4 nights ago, the ex-Prime Minister, he took a view that Australia, because of our long-term relationship going back 40, 50 years with China, could, if it wanted to, play a part in perhaps coming to some agreement between China and the rest of the world. But he did make the point that the current government in Australia will probably not be totally supportive of that approach, and will probably stay closer to its alignments with
US.
Yeah, the US. Biden has been interesting. And look, I'm not an expert on Biden, but when he came to power, the first thing he did was rewrite all the domestic policy and threw out this and this. But he hasn't done it with the international policy. I think he's treading a little softly on the international policy, and he hasn't come back and re-embraced China. And he hasn't come out and re-embraced North Korea, and he hasn't dealt with the Middle East issue where Trump had very fixed views on everything. He hasn't jumped to the right or to the left. He's sort of sitting at the moment, and perhaps they're rethinking how their policy is. But I think Biden hasn't made a definitive statement which way he's going to go. And I think Scott Morrison government is waiting to see what they do. So I think Australia will take its lead from America. If Biden goes more towards China, then Australia may soften its stance.
Okay, one more thing.
No, but I want to add on that one. I have known President Biden for a very long time. I've studied him. President Biden was for a very long time Senate Foreign Relations Committee chairman. And when he was not the chairman, he was the ranking member. His approach on foreign relations would be the most studied approach because he lived all that. He knew a lot of world leaders like friends because he met them. Please understand the way US system works in that the Senate Foreign Relations Chair gets to meet all the visiting foreign dignitaries. So over time, and you just don't go and meet them for coffee. You have to go them and give them feedback. So you have to study and prepare yourself. And at the Senate Foreign Relations Committees, as a chair, you also do a lot of this vetting of the ambassadors, foreign ambassadors. They have to be confirmed by Senate Foreign Relations. So you question them, you vet them, you give them hard time on difficult questions. So it's an education for you. That is why you will find his foreign relations policies won't be much different from Trump, but he won't be as vocal as Trump was. See, Trump was more of a businessman, make noise, create a perception of all that. Biden absolutely wants a very strong US, and Trump wanted the same. So it is like, both of them had the same vision, approach was different.
Malik Sahab, you both has a very good knowledge and good understanding about the international affairs. Now, we will still on the same topic, China, handling the China with the tough Trump way, or handling the China with the soft way and trying to make allies. With your analytical approach, which method, which concept will be much better? Going for allies or fixing the China?
I think at the moment, there is going to be no approach at all.
No approach.
Because there is there's so much anti-China feelings among common people.
Yeah.
That any approach to fix this or to get closer to China would have massive consequences on the ground for any political leader.
Right.
Right. They're already seeing that if President Biden becomes soft on China, Democrats won't win re-election, and they're going to see that happening next 2 years. In 2022, you will see a lot of House seats will be gone to Republicans. Already the impact being felt. So President Biden would be very, very careful. Very careful.
To make any move.
It will be status quo. It will be status quo. Don't tell me anything. I'm not going to listen.
Right. Same thing. Which method, which approach will be more suitable for the world peace? Fixing the China or looking for allies? China.
China is certainly economically a powerhouse. You can't avoid that. Certainly America is probably in debt to it to a large degree. So I'm always a believer that it's economics that drives things. So America will probably be very much considering its economic position at the present time.
Right.
China is probably in the driving seat economically, although I think it struggled in the last 12 months. And if nations like India and Japan work with America, then they may lose some of their economic leverage around the world. They'll certainly get it in Africa and that, but it's not going to produce much out of Africa in those areas. But I think at the present time, and certainly I see India has been talking to China about the military issue up north recently. So I think they're trying to open up communications with China. So they're trying to see if China might take a backward step and just accept what is happening, or they want to see which way China will move. And again, they've got a very strong president of China. He is very powerful now. He changed their constitution. So he's
president for life.
Yes, he's a very, very strong position.
But he's most liked leader also in China. People supporting him.
What's his name? Saddam Hussein was very liked. He was supported, well supported. Hitler was very liked. He was well supported. They were popular leaders at home.
But Malik Sahab, now at the time, Saddam time, now the people have social media, so many things. I think we will discuss in a full show on this topic. Let us
No,
know.
but I want to take your the thing on social media.
Mm.
What social media is in
China.
China? No,
Mm.
Facebook doesn't work,
Mm.
Google doesn't work, Gmail doesn't work. They have their own social media.
Mm.
So create whatever you want. Garbage in, garbage out.
Out.
Feed whatever you want.
So it's do you think that, okay, as long you already mentioned that is live present for the life, do you think it's this move itself is showing or sending the message to the rest of the world, be careful now?
I think it's certainly saying, you know, they've got to measure how they deliver with China, and China's got to be probably not quite as measured, but I think they're rethinking the relationships that are now occurring around them. Also, China has a lot of wealthy people in there. I believe they have more billionaires than any
Yes.
country in the world, and I see most of them sit on the Communist Party Council. So obviously economics affects their
Yeah.
policy there. But having said that, although Dr. Bernard has mentioned about them being here in Australia, there's another view the Americans take that one way to change a country like China is bring their students here and educate them in the broader sense of democracy and you know, freedom of speech and so on, and then send them home,
Yeah.
and then let that force take its effect.
Yeah.
The issue is whether or not the older generation in China will accept that younger generation. Certainly, the Tiananmen Square incident showed that they didn't tolerate that young generation come out.
Huh.
And of course, they've got a couple of problems themselves, China. They've got Hong Kong, which is becoming problematic.
Yeah,
They've still got Taiwan, who won't
But
accept
Hong
it.
Kong is almost like independent nation.
Yeah. No, Malik sir, yeah, you were saying.
Oh, and they've got Taiwan
Yeah.
who won't accept it. And
Yeah.
they tell me that, and I'm not totally familiar with China's politics, but in the southern states of China, there's certainly some feeling about how the government is being run. It's a bit like Australian politics, the city and the country issue. So they may have their own internal problems
Right.
over the next decade.
I think that's the best message is that the economics will decide this one. The last topic of the day, Dr. Malik, we discussed Joe Biden policies, and Mr. Pitman already mentioned that Joe Biden has he touched the internal policies, but did not touch the external policies. But last week he has relaxed the Asian country policy. If you remember, Mr. Donald Trump has very strong. So, what do you think that this policy required to be relaxed, and ultimately it's a good news for the Asian countries?
See, as I said, every president has internal politics, and politics at home basically dictates how you behave.
Right.
President Trump took it's like Newman, very strong thing, and then he lost power, and next was Anabla. Anabla came and changed everything. No, it was this Palaszczuk. Palaszczuk came and undid everything. Country did not progress. Luckily for Trump, he got more votes than before, so it was not landslide by President Biden. If you remember, Trump was against Muslims coming, he was against this guy coming, that guy coming.
Islamic countries.
Yes, what happened now? Okay, a softer message went out. A really softer message went out that this is going to be a president who is very soft on migration, on immigration. I do not know if you read yesterday's news. There is a major migration crisis in US now.
Why?
Because there are over 10 million people that walked over to US borders in last 2 months. They want to get into US. When Trump was sending a strong message, nobody was coming in. See, everybody, and please understand, all these South American countries, not only their citizens want to go, lot of Asian countries and all use that as a platform to enter US. So all these people get to those countries and then walk over to US. You got a problem there. President Biden already passed the immigration reforms, and so a lot of people will become permanent residents. Okay, but then there is no point of fixing that problem when you got a greater problem because of your attitude.
Right.
So now President Biden's team is out there, stage managing and sending a message. No, you touch our border, we'll catch you and we'll send you back.
Right, right. So, Mr. Pitman, do you think also that because of the soft message, and I know that from the Asian country, I believe that was expected from a good leader to have a relaxation on the immigration policy, especially, it's some kind of discrimination that you are trying to say this not, rest of the one will accept it. But now after this match, but this point which Dr. Bernard just mentioned, that because of this relaxation, they are going to face a major crisis. Do you think this is not the right time to take this decision now?
I think Mr. Biden, who's well into his 70s, and when you look at a lot of their politicians, they're certainly a little older than most, will have memory recall issues. And when you look at it, they have very strong connections to Japan, rebuilding it into a democracy and becoming one of the world's power industrial estates. They've had a lot to do with South Korea. And again, South Korea is a very, very well industrialized and very much a wealthy country in its own right. It's had a lot to do with the Philippines. They made commitments to the Philippines during World War II, and they've gone back in it. Interesting enough, America had a very good relationship with China. They actually provided the Chinese with a lot of material during World War II. So there were some very good relationships there, and they've certainly still got very good relationships with Taiwan. So my view is America never forgets its history. They're very strong on their history, and they're very strong on their past relationships. And countries, they believe very much in what they call self-determination of countries. And so I think what Mr. Biden has done, and the American Congress and their Senate, is they see Asia as countries they've helped support, develop and grow and have attachments to. And I find the American people that I've dealt with over many decades now have very strong values with those countries.
Right, right. Thank you, Dr. Bernard Malik. Thank you, Professor Pitman. I think time will decide that Mr. Biden's relaxation on external decisions will ultimately have inverse impact on the Australian American system. And coming back to the China, we will going to have more talk about the China as long and time will fly, time will move. And Professor Pitman already mentioned that World Economic will decide that where the situation is going to be arise. But for the COVID, I think in Pakistan, they are suffering with the third wave, as Dr. Bernard mentioned, and because it is more harmful than the second and first wave because it's catching very quickly. So, but the good part from the third wave is that within 2-3 days, you are going to have indication of the COVID. So ultimately, the treatment can be started early as possible. But again, if you ignore third wave, the consequences would be very hard. Please look after yourself. I believe TV Asia team, Dr. Bernard Malik, Professor Pitman, we discussed some informative talk. Ultimately, these information, we don't like to create a conspiracies. We like to have a decent information for our viewers and our listeners. Before closing out the program, I would like to inform that immediately after some time, we are going to have information about what happened in the Sikh games There are the games which is happening very soon, and we have information about what happening in this one, and Mr. Satwinder Tinu is going to bring a very valuable information for you. So stay tuned with TV Asia, and it's over from 12:30. See you next week. Till then, it's a goodbye. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.